Sensationally silver, because you are.
Welcome, everyone, to Sensationally Silver, A State of Mind, conversations with extraordinary, ordinary persons of age, people who are going to bring you information, inspiration, and validation. Join us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sensationally Silver, A State of Mind, conversations with extraordinary, ordinary persons of age. Everyone I have on this is extraordinary. We're all extraordinary. And Lee Moberly, who's my guest today, is certainly extraordinary. She's Dr. Lee Moberly. She has a doctorate in metaphysical healing, and she's going to talk to us about how she does this and how it especially applies to persons of age. Welcome, Lee. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're welcome. The pleasure is mine. So I'm going to start out with my usual question. Lee, you've got to tell us how old you are.
Well, I'm going to be 79 in 1 month.
Okay. All right. You definitely qualify because all my guests need to be 60 or older. Okay. So let me ask you this, Lee. How old do you feel?
Right now, about 35.
I understand. That's what I tell myself in my head too. And it's also how I dream of myself. In my dreams, I'm always 35 years old. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's denial or just some sort of dream mechanism. Who knows? All right. What, Lee, is the most challenging thing about being the age you are?
It's combating societal beliefs about aging and having everything blamed upon your age. If you have a physical ailment and injured yourself, well, and you hurt, is because you're getting older instead of, well, no, I'm injured.
Yeah.
And I think it's a discounting of everything and blaming everything on age, where it's just not true. I mean, obviously, we all slow down and there is physiological changes, but so often it's the perception of it instead of the reality. And we buy into societal beliefs. It surrounds us all the time.
And there's also sort of an implication that there's nothing that can be done because, oh,
Exactly.
well, you're just
Exactly.
old. And we had a guest, one of my favorite guests is Julia Loggins, and she was talking about that. When you're told you're old, it's because you're old, and all these other factors may be affecting your
Yes.
diet, all kinds of things. So I agree with you. That's really important to take our own perception of ourselves seriously and help maybe educate some of those doctors that might be quite a bit younger than we are and not understand that there are issues that have to do with aging, but maybe this isn't one of them. This is, as you said, an injury or something else going on. Okay. What's the best thing about being the age you are right now?
I really just don't care what anybody else thinks. I, I think that's the one main advantage of aging is that you've had enough experiences, you've lived enough life to realize it really doesn't make any. Everybody has an opinion, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything to you. And you need to have your own perceptions, your own ideas, uh, lead your own life the way you want to.
It's funny how it takes aging to give ourselves that permission to say, I don't care. I get to be me. I wish I could have given myself that gift a long time ago, but it is a huge advantage of having some miles on me and having, just the freedom of that. Okay.
I, I do remember I was like 18 and I was in college, and there was an instructor that was really old, like she was like 55. And I remember her saying that same thing. Well, I don't care what anybody thinks because I'm old enough and it doesn't make any difference. And I remember being so amazed. I was like, wow, she's my hero. So I obtained it finally.
Yeah, because we can't even imagine that when we're so much younger. We can't
Right.
imagine that kind of, I don't care.
Yeah.
When we're younger, we're so concerned with seeming to be the way we think other people seem to want us to be. It's ridiculous.
Right.
It's all a myth. All right. Okay, Lee, I want you to tell us what you do, how you do it, how it works, how it helps. Okay, that's a big order.
Okay. Well, I basically work with people that may be just stuck in life. Say they have a repeating pattern and they maybe repeat issues with relationships or issues with work, or they have recurring health patterns and they seem not to be able to get the answers that they need. And I work with them on a what I call a metaphysical healing principle, where we has a lot to do with our connection with our own higher self, whether you believe in God or a universal being or something bigger than yourself. And we work with prayer, work with past life, energy healings, some of the more alternative things that a lot of people have heard about. And I found that past life uh, regression tends to be one of the more effective means, because what it does is as you go into a meditative state as with a facilitator, if you have an issue that you're trying to work on, and you go back into a meditative state to the very first time in your soul life that you've experienced these particular sets of feelings, physical sensations, and emotions. And it takes it back to either a previous life, and you only have to believe in previous lives because I didn't when I first started working with it. Or it may take you back into a childhood memory and something that was traumatic, something that caused you to create a false belief about yourself or the world. And we work at releasing that. We look at revisiting those issues under a meditative state. And that kind of works, opens up the subconscious, because a lot of our fears and phobias are based way deep, buried down, and we may not even know why we have such a reaction. And we go through a whole process of this life through the end of that life or up until the current moment, if it's, a current life, and look at that and kind of overlay it with a sense of rational and logical understanding instead of emotional reaction. And then we work at releasing and forgiving and healing that aspect of our lives. And it's been very, very effective.
So, Lee, can you tell us a story that illustrates that progression of being stuck, having these emotions that are and reactions that are frozen from the past, and going through this process with you and releasing that? Tell us a story.
Well, I'll even tell you some of my personal stories, how I got started, because I was I was had become a investment banker and stockbroker in Las Vegas, and I was very successful at it. And I was had really used what I call prosperity consciousness to get to that point. I was a single mom, recently divorced, wasn't making enough to really provide the lifestyle that I would like to have provided. And I had heard about the concept of prosperity consciousness, and so I delved into it. And I'd always been an optimistic person anyway. But then when I realized it was an actual structure and form, I thought, well, shoot, I'm going to do that. I was making like $10,000. I mean, this was a long time ago. And and I decided I was going to make $50,000 and get a big house and a fur coat and diamond rings, you know, and I was going to do it in a year. Well, within a week or two, somebody said, "Yeah, you're doing this. Why don't you move to Las Vegas with me and become a stockbroker?" And I said, "Yes." Went there. Within a year, I had made $50,000 that year, bought myself a fur jacket, and my friend turned out to be a wealthy woman who I didn't realize she was from a wealthy family until after we moved there. And then she confessed she was. So we had gold parties instead of Tupperware parties. I bought some gold jewelry. And anyway, so I'd received everything that I said I thought I wanted to do. And I was very content and I was very happy and pleased with myself. But then there was something missing. I felt like, well, this is wonderful and I've achieved all my goals, but something's missing. And so I was thinking it just like there was doesn't feel quite right. And I talked to somebody and they said, well, go to this woman called Barbara Paradisi, and she's a spiritual person and she'll help you work through these issues. So I started working with her and she did something called past life regressions. And I'm going, well, that sounds a little weird. I'm pretty open minded, but it sounded a little strange to me. And so I started working with her. And one thing happened as I had a fear of public speaking. A CPA had signed me up to give a speech at the CPA convention. And I said, oh no, I can't. I'll pass out of fear. And so I walked with Barbara and I said, I am terrified. And we did a past life, went through the session, and there was something that I had gotten really practically killed. I mean, it was like really ostracized by the community for stuff I had talked about and things that I was promoting. And it was just had created such a fear of ostracization from a community. I was afraid to talk in public. We went through that regression, came through the other side, did the forgiveness, get the understanding. I had zero speaking fear ever since. It just disappeared overnight. And I'm thinking, well, this was kind of weird, but it worked. And so if it works, I didn't care if it was weird. And so I started working more and more on it with other issues that I was, dealing with myself as you do as a young 30 something young person. And it made a tremendous difference. I mean, it just changed my life and changed what I felt possible. And I had a way of moving through issues as they were confronted all through life.
Okay, so now perhaps our listeners, our viewers are saying, well, I may have those issues. They've been affecting me all this time, but now I'm moving toward the end of my life. Maybe it doesn't matter that I have these, but I bet you can make a case for why it's really important to address these at this point, too. Yes?
Yes. Well, my philosophy is live until you die. And I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100. If there's something that's disturbing you or bothering you, why not address it? Why spend one more day or one more month being uncomfortable? I just recently worked with a woman that was in her 70s, and she still was having some relationship issues with some family members. And she needed to let go of it. It was a very painful type of situation. And so we worked with her on those family dynamics. And she just said, she called me and just, oh my gosh, I had never been able to see it in that way and light. Is a different, I view my family differently now. And I'm not as frustrated with them and not as feeling as hurt and upset with different members. It's just I understand the dynamics now. And so by understanding the dynamics of the people that you love even makes a difference.
Can you talk about what that was for her, what she saw that she'd been stuck in and how it shifted?
Uh, it was more of a situation with a ex-husband, and she was, very concerned. I don't want to go too much into detail because of, privacy concerns and stuff like that. But it really had to do with relationships. And so many women have a tendency to be really empathetic and caring and loving, and they don't know how to set boundaries because they feel responsible for everybody in their lives. And it's like letting go of that burden and responsibility and knowing where the line is drawn between what is your responsibility and what is somebody else's responsibility, and realize you're not helping anybody by continuing to let them be dependent upon you emotionally or any other way. And so it's a loving way. But most women, or not most, but many women have that issue with being responsible and don't know how to take care of themselves. And that I still see that in older women also.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've heard the phrase many times about staying in our own hula hoop, that what's outside of that is somebody else's to deal with. And to bring it into our hula hoop just makes it very clumsy. And
It's challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so challenging. It's so challenging because I'm one of those people. I just want to make everybody happy and optimistic and have unlimited possibilities. I'm a very much of a Pollyanna, And I don't think I've changed much since I've been a child.
And I do really believe that we women are built to nurture. So we are so tuned in to how other people feel. It's not all about what's getting done, it's about how people are feeling.
Right.
I remember seeing a film about women directors in film and how differently they came to their projects than men who were directing did. They wanted everybody to be happy as they went along. And it set up an entirely different dynamic in the shooting whatever they were shooting. So different. So that's our programming. And to learn how to put some brakes on it or some limits or some borders around it so that it doesn't make things uncomfortable ultimately, so that it really facilitates our life and others' lives. Yeah, very important. What
And there
about
was a man too. I was just going to say, men too. I worked with a man recently, and he was having relationship issues and didn't understand why his relationships weren't working out. And we went through again and released some of the traumas and issues that he'd had as a young person and also a previous life. And it just makes a huge difference. It's like it's like how you can sometimes see your friends. Well, if they would only do this and this and this, they wouldn't have so many problems. And that's kind of what the past life does. It kind of separates you from yourself. And so you're able to see yourself with a little bit more distance. And then you can make evaluations and judgment. So that's, I think, the real key to it. It's like you'll see your friend and say, oh my goodness, if that person would just do this and this, don't they see where they're sabotaging themselves? No, we don't see where we're sabotaging ourselves. But somebody, our friends can, but it just isn't conveyed until you actually experience it within your own head. And so that's pretty much what I think is the benefit of this. It kind of gives us enough distance to look at ourselves.
I remember a client back when I was a therapist. She put it so well. She talked about how you're in this painting. There you are in this
Mhm.
painting, and you can't look at yourself because you're in it. So you're talking about getting that distance, getting that perspective. So you're viewing the painting and you can say,
Right.
oh, yeah, I recognize that. But when we're stuck inside here, not so easy to do.
No, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I, and it's true for everybody. I mean, I've been working on this for 45 years, and there's still stuff. Oh, why did I do that? So we all are learning. I
And
don't
those
know.
habits stick around, but now it sounds like you can trace it back. You can say, well, wait a minute, this
Yeah,
is this thing I do. I remember where it had its origin,
exactly.
and I don't have to let it lead me around.
Anymore. Yeah, we
Blind.
can make a choice. We have free choice. Sometimes we just forget we have a free choice.
Yeah. We don't see all the options.
Exactly.
Hmm. Okay. So, what's this work like for you, doing this kind of thing with other people? How does that feel, Lee?
It makes me very relaxed because I kind of go into a meditative state at the same time. So it actually calms me very down and centers me. And I do much better. Uh, I'm one of those multitasker type of people, and I usually running three businesses at one time. And I needed to always keep one foot in the secular world, and have done investment banking, stock brokerage, international financial planning, real estate development. But then I always simultaneously did what I call the spiritual work. And if I do all spiritual, sometimes I just kind of float off the planet because I tend to be a very intuitive type of person, a very connected type of person. But if I do just the secular work, I get kind of stuck in myself because we all share the same common type of issues. You know, as a human, we have overlapping issues. And so it helps center me, and I love doing it. And I get a really big reward when people finally get their aha moments. It just makes me happy.
I think probably lots of us think those two worlds are rather separate.
Right.
There's that spiritual path, and then there's the very mundane thing of making money and getting ahead and all. But you've managed to join those, merge those in the way that you go forward in your life.
Yes.
That's kind of unique, Lee. I haven't heard that a lot from people.
I know. Yeah. You'll talk with people that know me from the secular world and they'll describe me one way. Then you hear people that know me from the spiritual world and they'll describe me another way. And they go, don't realize they're talking about the same person. And yet I'm the same. It's just that I don't really see a separation. I mean, we all need to uh, pay, buy groceries and pay the rent and do this. So why not do it grandly instead of poorly? I never understood the concept of poverty and spirituality. To me, it's abundant living. And I believe in abundant living. And I'm not saying you have to be a millionaire to do it, but you have to feel abundant with wherever you're at and be satisfied with whatever you need. And some people have less desires and less needs, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some people want a better lifestyle, a bigger lifestyle, a more grand lifestyle, and I don't judge them either. I've worked with, I did when I was a investment banker. I always did pro bono counseling for like single mothers in particular to help them with move forward on their prosperity consciousness, maybe improve their career or jobs or something like that. And then I've worked with billionaires and top government officials. So I just don't see much difference between people. To me, they're people and they all have the same, feelings, desires, wishes, and stuff. So I don't really see much difference between that. And I know that's kind of a unique view. And it wasn't always that popular because when I was a stockbroker, you really shouldn't have been doing psychic readings on the weekends. And I actually had a client catch me coming to the psychic fair that I was reading at, and I had my suit and everything on during the weekday when she saw me as a stockbroker, and then I had my gypsy costume on in the weekend doing psychic readings. But it worked out. She loved it.
It's amazing she recognized you because those costumes that we all wear, we all wear a thing that says, this is who I am,
Yeah,
cowboys, policemen,
I
whatever.
know, I know.
And if we see someone out of that costume, it's often, who is that? Looks familiar. Don't know who. Um, let's go back to talking about your life a little bit more. So, Lee, any regrets at this point?
You know, I complain a lot still, but really, I'm not sure what I could have done differently because otherwise it would have had a different outcome and who knew where I'd be at. And I've had a really challenging life, but I've also had an absolutely blessed life. So it's sort of balanced itself out. I guess any regrets is I wished I could have taken my own advice earlier.
Have you found that some of the things that felt so challenging and that you certainly, this is true for me. So I'm asking this question if it's true for you as well. It's been sort of recent that I've really come to terms with the fact that the things I would have said, oh, no, 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 don't make me go through that. No, have been the greatest blessings in my life, the ones that I absolutely would have refused if I'd had the choice. Do you see any of that in your life, that these things that were so challenging and maybe really painful to go through ended up giving you so much in terms of, I don't know, maybe ultimate happiness, ultimate understanding, whatever?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I don't know. It's a question I've often asked myself, and I'm not sure. I think it depends upon the day you ask me. If I'm optimistic and upbeat, yes, I'm really happy because I said, well, this led to this led to this. But then when I'm on a down day, I'm going, oh, yeah, but I wasted all those years being injured or sick, and I could have done so much more and stuff. And so I think it depends upon your state of mind. And I know that I built resilience is the word that I realized that I was really looking on is resilience. I have so many harsh lessons. I mean, really harsh lessons, which many of us have. But I realized that you have a choice, which each lesson. You can even let it destroy you and, become one of the, walking dead. Or you can decide, I'm going to build resilience. I'm going to come back better and stronger. And that's really what's happened. I've been disabled 6 or 7 times in my life. And each time I bitched and complained. I cried. I'm not that spiritual and stuff, but it also became more determined, more determined. And each time I came back stronger and better and built more businesses or help the world. I expanded my ability to help other people and the world in general. So I think there was a resilience that's built up if you can overcome some of the setbacks in life.
I walked by a church recently, and on that little board that they put out where they tell you what's coming up, there was a quote from, I believe it was from Thomas Carlyle, and it said, "No pressure, no diamonds." And at first I didn't get it, and then I really got it. It's like, right, that's what creates character, gives us the experience where we can be of help to somebody else. I mean, all kinds of things. Tenacity, if there's no pressure. And I think it's so common amongst young people raising children today that they want to prevent any unhappiness in their children's lives. Maybe that's not the smartest way to deal with childhood, because those bumps prepare us for bumps later on. And those bumps develop our character, develop what we have to give the world. So no pressure, no diamonds. I really like that.
It's great. I love that. I'll have to remember that one.
It's so short, but it says
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have to close pretty soon. I want to get a couple more thoughts from you, Lee. Tell me what you're looking forward to in your life at this point.
Well, I'm looking forward to continuing working on this. My son and I are setting up a new YouTube channel for travel. And so we're going to start incorporating that into my life. I think that's going to be fun. I never traveled as much as I would like to, so that's on the agenda. And then a personal thing, I always told people I was a professional singer. I was paid not to sing. I'm so out of tune. And so I decided I'm going to learn how to sing, whether it takes me another 20 or 30 years. And so I signed up for 3 singing music classes. I'm going to learn music, singing. And so I'm going to decide I'm going to be able to carry a tune and sing a song in public before I die.
I love hearing that. To love singing, why not? Why not get some coaching, some help with that?
Yeah,
I
always just thought it would be just wonderful to get out there and just. I'm obviously a rather emotional person. To be belt out some wonderful song, I just thought it looked so freeing and so joyous. And so I finally decided I'm going to do it, and I am over my head. I told the instructor yesterday, I said, when he was talking about music theory, I said, I really think maybe I should have taken an easier class like advanced physics. It's going over my head.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, maybe very challenging again. And finally, Lee, what do you want to say to other persons of age?
Live life and enjoy yourself.
Okay. That kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Live life and enjoy yourself. Because we don't always do that, especially when we're younger, we're striving.
Yeah.
And maybe it's easier now to give ourselves that permission.
Yeah.
It might be a little more challenging because of physical limitations or whatever, but we can get out of our own way, huh? Live life and enjoy yourself. I like that, Lee. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank you, all of you who have joined us. Come back and join us again. Bye for now. Sensationally Silver, A State of Mind, is sponsored by Sensationally Silver, a complete hair care product line created especially for people with hair like ours, naturally gray and white hair. Sensationally Silver products can be found exclusively at sensationallysilver.com.